Hey there guys, I am SonicGhost and welcome to Let's Play Kirby Superstar Ultra. Kirby Superstar Ultra is the DS remake of the original Kirby Superstar released on the Super Nintendo in 1996. Now I did do a Let's Play of the original Kirby Superstar a couple years back on my YouTube channel, but frankly I do have some issues with that original Let's Play and I did want to revisit the game at some point, so I figured why not revisit Kirby Superstar by using the DS remake Kirby Superstar Ultra. So with that said, let's go ahead and begin a new save file here. And when you first boot up the game, you'll always see Spring Breeze unlocked along with 3 sub-games. Now, in the original Kirby Superstar, you would have 2 sub-games unlocked, but they are different sub-games than the ones here in Kirby Superstar Ultra. But then you also have 3 other game modes from the very beginning: Dynablade, the Great Cave Offensive, and Gourmet Race. Here, we just have Spring Breeze, so let's just go ahead and jump on into things. All the food in peaceful Dreamland has been stolen. This must be the work of King Dedede. There's trouble in Dreamland. King Dedede and his soldiers have stolen all the food in Dreamland. Here comes our hero, riding in on the Spring Breeze. Some call him Kirby. Let the adventure begin. This is not my first time playing Kirby Superstar Ultra, and we don't need any stinking tutorials because I could just explain all this stuff along the way. So with that all said, welcome to Stage 1 of Spring Breeze, Green Greens. Now, fun fact about Spring Breeze here, this mode is a remake of the original Kirby Dreamland on the Game Boy. So if you played Kirby's Dreamland and you recognize a lot of these stages, well that's why. These are one-to-one stages from the original Game Boy title, with some slight alterations obviously. But we have ourselves our first power of the game, Beam. And Beam's probably one of my favorite powers to mess around with, just because of how versatile this ability is. It's a long-range ability, and at the same time, you can do some fun little things with this too, not just shoot out projectiles. Like you can go ahead and jump in the air, and you can go ahead and spam that ability to get some extra height, along with do some damage on the ground. You can go ahead and charge up your Beam for a devastating attack, and you can even grab enemies with it too. So Beam is just a very versatile ability in my honest opinion. It's not one of the most powerful ones, but it's definitely one of the most versatile abilities in the entire game. So we just unfortunately lost our power there to that pig, or bear. Some people say otherwise. I've heard a lot of people say I think the bear, but on the small DS screen, it looks a little more like a pig to me, and I always thought that thing looked more like a pig on the Super Nintendo version as well, so maybe that's just me. But now, we're at our boss fight here, Wispy Woods. Wispy here, not really that difficult. But to be fair, Wispy is known in the entire series as being one of the easiest boss fights. This tree just basically sits there, spits out air at you, and then shakes down an apple every once in a while to hurt. But you can suck up the apples and spit them back out, so you can hurt Wispy with his own food. So yeah, not the hardest boss, but he is the very first one in the game, so it's kind of expected. But here in Stage 2, I want to go ahead and press the X button to make a helper. Because with a helper now, I have a second player alongside me that can not only help me out and just destroy things in general and kill enemies, but also can grab food, which can heal me, so that does help out quite a lot. If I'm damaged and my helper picks up a thing of food, I can rush over to the helper and then we can share it. So in a sense, we can kind of share health, and that's very, very helpful indeed. But we have Fighter, which is a close range ability. Think of this kind of like maybe a Street Fighter fight set for some people, because in later games, Fighter kind of becomes more like a Street Fighter move, because you can do things like energy beams, which mimic the Hadouken. But here in the original Kirby Superstar, you're basically just throwing some punches and kicks and maybe doing some uppercuts, and that's about it. But I want to go ahead and get rid of this ability right now, because I'm not going to be using it. So I give it to my helper, and it transforms him into Knuckle Joe. So now, instead of being a beam power, he's a fighter power. So that does help. But against Lololo and La here, I absorb a new power called Crash. Press the B button, and this ability is a screen nuke. So what that means, for Lolo and La in particular, is the screen nuke will kill them both instantly. Crash is overpowered for Lolo and La in particular. Crash does not kill all bosses like that. In fact, most bosses after this point, you can't kill in one shot with Crash anymore. So Lolo and La are the one exception to that rule. But in Bubbly Clouds here, I want to go ahead and ditch my power, so I press the X button. I can go ahead and convert my helper into a power-up. So if you don't want to help her anymore, you just press the X button, and then you'll just kind of push it out as long as you don't have a power. If you have a power, you're just going to be throwing it out. Press the X button when Kirby doesn't have anything, then he can just do that little, well, push down attack, which makes him look like he's trying to push out wind from his armpits, and that's that. So now we're coming up to our mini-boss here, Crackle Jr. For Crackle Jr., you can actually grab this enemy using Fighter, and you can kind of just chuck him into Crackle Jr. and do a crap ton of damage. It doesn't one-shot KO it, but Crackle Jr. might as well die by just throwing an enemy into him. It's insane. In the original Kirby Superstar, you can actually just one-shot KO using Fighter's Throw like that. So, that's weird how they kind of changed it a bit for Ultra, but it's just a minor change. It's not really that big of a deal. So now we have ourselves Mike. Mike is very similar to Crash. Well, this is kind of a screen nuke in a completely different way, though, because Mike has a 3U system, so because of it, it's actually a weaker version of Crash, but it does do the same thing. So here, I have my last use, which is a very loud shout on that microphone. Kirby has some very good vocal cords there if you can just do that, but I want these two enemies to get near each other, suck them both up, and now I can go ahead and do a mix. And I got fire from that mix, so that's not that bad. So fire is another projectile-based attack, and I actually want to head up into this moon, hold up, and we got ourselves a secret little area. So this secret little area gives you some food, gives you a 1-up while falling, and it also gives you a mini-boss down here to fight, Bonkers. Which Bonkers has a hammer, and that's another move for us to get, so I kind of want that. And I want to kill that guy over there, because that guy can give me a power called Sleep, and Sleep's like the most worthless power-up in the entire game. It doesn't really do anything. The whole purpose of Sleep is more or less just there to hinder you. That's about it. It's kind of a joke power-up. But against Kracko, with a hammer, this guy will take no time at all to kill. In fact, he's already dead. Hammer packs a punch. So, 4 swipes with this thing, and Kracko doesn't stand a chance at all. But that is that. So, we're now moving on to our final fight here, and to our final stage, Mount DDD. This stage is basically just a boss arena. You have some powers you can grab here in the very beginning, but besides that, it's just the boss arena to fight King Dedede, and that's it. So here we can go ahead and grab ourselves Stone, we can grab ourselves Bomb, Beam, or Parasol. But I'm just going to be sticking with the hammer because this thing is really good, so I'm going to just keep this. So one of my favorite abilities with this is if you hold up, you can do this charging flame attack with the hammer, and it 2-shots King Dedede. It's insane! This power is so good when it comes to doing damage. And there's another ability I'll get to show later on with the hammer that just makes it really powerful. It's not something you can really spam, but it is something that will do a crap ton of damage, and we'll talk about that later in the game. But that's Spring Breeze in a nutshell. So it's 4 short stages, but since this is based off of a Game Boy game, that originally was only about 30 minutes long anyways, Spring Breeze is really just the beginner mode that gets you more familiar with how Kirby Superstar plays and controls. Well, that's it. So, after we defeat King Dedede, we knock him out of his own castle and just take it for ourselves. Because now Kirby becomes a giant blimp, which, of course he can, he's Kirby, and he's taking a food bath to everyone in Dreamland. So, that concludes that chapter. All the stolen food is going back home, and that's it. Sucks about the whole castle thing, King Dedede. Kinda need to take us home to distribute food, but hey, you can always build another one, right? I mean, it's just a castle. It's not like he needs it or anything. It's not like he lives there. Sometimes Kirby can go a little too far with things. But we get to the end of our ropes here, flying around this nice sunset, and we just drop the castle up in the air here, dropping down food, and that's it. Look at all them Waddle Dees. They're very happy to have all their food back. All them grapes, corn. I see some ice cream flying around back there, and that's that. In the original Kirby Superstar, this ending screen, Kirby will hold up a sign saying next, but here in Kirby Superstar Ultra, it just kind of waves at you, which I like the sign a little bit more. The sign just had a little more personality to it. But once you beat Spring Breeze, you can now go ahead and play Dynablade, Gourmet Race, and the Great Cave Offensive. The other 3 modes that were unlocked from the very beginning in the original Kirby Superstar. So, before we end this episode, I want to go ahead and play through Gourmet Race, because this is very short. King Dedede challenged Kirby to see who's the hungriest gourmet. Who will reach the goal first? Speed to eat, eat to win. And Kirby's thinking a lot about food when he's flying. Probably not the best idea when you're trying to exercise. we've played Gourmet Race before, so I don't need this. We technically have played this before on the channel, so it's nothing really new. But this is just basically a race. You collect food for more points, but your main goal here is just to be King Dedede to the end. That's about it. You don't really need to collect the food to really win this entire thing, but you do want to collect this along the way, because if you don't, you're going to have a much harder time actually beating King Dedede's score at the end. So you could win all the races, but if King Dedede grabs a lot more food than you, then it wouldn't really matter. It's really hard though for King Dedede to win Gourmet Race as a whole, just because of the fact that you grab so much food along the way, it's just impossible to lose because of King Dedede grabbing more food than you. So, if you're not going to have enough food by the end with all the wins, I don't know what the heck to tell you there. You must have just flew over everything. But King Dedede here kind of takes a weird route sometimes too. He can kind of just hover around and jump all over the place just to get food out of the way. So I don't recommend going out of your way for food, just because King Dedede is doing that already. So you're better off just taking a more direct path, since King Dedede is already kind of detouring. So that'll make winning this race a lot easier by just going through it. So here, I'm just going to fly up. I actually took the bottom path, which I meant to take the top, but it's not too big of a deal. We still beat King Dedede and got more than half of the food that he did. So I don't know what the heck to tell you there, King Dedede. You're very slack if you have, like, well, less than half of what we got. But here we have our powers, so I'm going to go ahead and take Wing here of all these. So you pick one, and then you stick with this for the entirety of this last race, but of all the powers, I think Wing's probably the most useful, just simply because of the flying ability with this thing. Wing's a great ability to fly around with because of the fast nature of it. It's very, very quick. So we can just go ahead and use this and fly all around. And it's not as fast to go straight up. Wing's better to go left and right in the air. So Wing's great for horizontal distances, which pretty much is just what Gourmet Race is. Just a horizontal race. We're going left and right. So it's great for that. So if I want to go up and down quicker, I'd be getting Jet, because Jet is a lot quicker to go up and down. So that's just basically the biggest differences between those two powers, and we're already done. Pretty much that race was just explaining what's the difference between wings and a jetpack. But that's it. We won. So now let's tally up the score. And yeah, Dedede didn't even come close. So yeah, you need to kind of not only eat more food, but also need to get good. Wow, we were 1 point away from 200. That's sad. That's not even an even number now. That's going to bug me. But that's it. It's Gourmet Race. So let's go ahead and make our way back to the menu, and now we are pretty much done here with 2 modes of the game already. So, with that said, next time on Let's Play Kirby Superstar Ultra, we'll go ahead and begin our next chapter in the game, Dynablade. I'll see you guys next time.